Mr. Devin Carter, thank you very much for being on the Filmmaking Friends podcast. How you doing? Are you ready for AFM?
Oh, I'm doing great. Getting ready for AFM. Still have to schedule several meetings, but that's what this week's all about.
I haven't been there for 2 years, so I'm actually kind of excited to go and see you and have some other meetings while I'm there. I've gone probably 4 times now. How about you? You've been many, many more times than four.
I'm not sure I can count. I started going to AFM in like 1998.
Yeah,
There might have been a few during COVID, of course, I missed, and
right.
possibly one or two other years I missed, but it's been several.
Yeah, and this is just one of many markets that are out there. Of course, there's the Cannes film market, which I'm assuming is probably the biggest of all the markets. Is that true?
That's correct.
And what
The Can Marcheted film in May, because there's two other markets in Canada as well, the MIP-TV and the MIPCOM.
Yeah, yeah. And you attend pretty much all of them for most of the time.
Yes, although I think we're probably going to stop going to MIP-TV in April, but still go to the other two.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, that makes for a busy career for you, traveling around, meeting with people. Well, I wanted to talk specifically with you about AFM. But before we get into that, I like to ask all my guests, when you were a kid, what was your favorite movie?
oh, that's easy. Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah? Did you go see it
Star
in
Wars.
the theaters?
Yes, I went and saw it at a theater called the Cinedome on Riverdale Road in Utah.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, there was a matinee for $1. I went every Saturday for over a year. I saw Star Wars in the theater 57 times. I almost have it memorized.
I would say you do. I would say you do. That's incredible. Well, that's great. That's a great movie to have.
I was
Now,
7 years old.
yeah. Well, I remember my parents wanting to. They were going to go on a date to go see Star Wars. I didn't know what it was. I was quite young, and I didn't want to stay with the babysitter, so I forced them to take me. So I saw Star Wars as well in theaters when it came out. So I don't remember it real well, but I know I went to it, and I have some little pieces in my memory of what the experience was like. But great film, great film. So let me ask you this. Did you know early on that you wanted to work in the film industry in some capacity, or how do you get to become a international sales agent?
Well, that's a bit of a long story. The short answer is
Okay.
no.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know early on I wanted to go in the film industry. I am a sales and marketing major, and when I look back at my life, sales has been in my blood since I was a young kid. Um, Long story is, I used to go door to door selling anything and everything. In fact, I started out selling chocolate bunnies for my older sister to send her to band camp in Florida. I didn't even get any compensation. So when I was going to college, I mean, I changed majors a couple of times, and I finally hit sales and marketing, and it just stuck, and it's kind of sales is kind of ingrained in me. And so when I was in college, I thought I was going to be selling North Face gear or Rosignol skis, but I ended up taking an internship at a film company, and I stayed there for 21 years, and here I am.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you and I have known each other for a long time. You have been the sales rep on a lot of films that I have done, and so I thought you'd be a great guest for this, since I know you better than any other sales agent that I've either dealt with or have met. Um, so let me ask you this. The film industry has changed over the years. For you as a sales agent, how has it changed for you? Has it become harder to sell, different to sell? Like, what's been the biggest change for you as a sales agent?
Oh, it's definitely harder. So when I started, we were sending content on VHS tape, and I was started at a time when buyers would buy just about anything you put on a VHS tape, short of a home movie.
Yeah,
So it was a lot easier to sell in the late '90s. Today, there's a whole lot of original content being made, and so your content to find a home really does have to be commercial. I mean, it has to have a home somewhere. You can't just get away with the things you got away with in the '90s. So it needs to be commercial first and foremost. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to like everything, but it has to have elements where a wide audience of some sort will want to consume that content.
yeah. And I would assume now more than ever, because of digital cameras and so forth, that there's just a lot more, especially on the independent level of films being made.
Way more content being made, and so there's a lot of content, unfortunately, that we have to pass on.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no way that you can rep all of these films that probably come to you. So what is a little bit of the selection process? Currently, you work at a international sales company called Premier Entertainment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you guys can only rep so many films in a year. Would you say that you guys are specializing in a certain kind of film, or are you open to all genres?
Well, when we're representing, we are open to all genres, but again, that doesn't mean we take everything that's submitted to us. We
Right,
also
right.
produce films, and so our bread and butter, as far as what we produce, is pretty much action thriller.
Action
Um,
thriller. Okay.
Correct, but we have rom coms, we have comedies, we have some dramas, we have some thrillers, some psychological thrillers. We'll look at anything that we think is commercial, and what I mean by that is we can already see there's some sales potential behind it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely consider it. But we get several films that sometimes I'll pass right off the trailer because I'm just, you know what, I'm just not going to be able to sell that. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not so much about the genre, it's about do I think we can sell it?
Yeah. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that independent filmmakers make when they make a movie? Things that you can't sell, like is it certain types of genres that you can't sell, or give me some of the things that are like hurdles that you see.
Well, in my opinion, the biggest hurdle is they make a boring movie that doesn't keep my attention.
Okay, right.
So even if it's a drama, you can make a drama that isn't boring. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm sitting there screening it, and in my company, my CEO wants me to spend 30 minutes. If he sends me a film he wants me to screen, he says watch at least 30 minutes. There's some movies I'm like, just like, oh my gosh, I want my 30 minutes back. I'm so
Yeah,
busy. I have other things to do.
right, right.
And so, it's all about pacing. Cast is important. It's more important than ever than it used to be. I mean, back in the 90s, early 2000s, when the DVD market was going, you could get away with a lot that you can't get away with now. I mean, digital has not replaced DVD in terms of the total market share and the revenue that you would get from it. And so there's a lot more places to put content, but there's still a lot of content that just doesn't measure up, at least for what we're looking for. And
Yeah,
so, again, I've seen micro budget films that have worked, but they have to have something. If most micro budget films aren't going to have a name. So, okay, what is going to carry the film? You got a cool dragon in it. I mean, you and I did a dragon film a decade
we
ago.
did. Yeah, we did.
Does it have some other creature? Does it have something in the trailer that makes me think, oh my gosh, I got to see that movie. And I don't care if it costs $80 million or $80,000. So
Yeah,
the trailer is extremely important. I mean, the trailer is the sales tool. If I watch your trailer and I don't think to myself, oh my gosh, I want to see the movie, you failed. And not only for me, but the viewer, because, I'm not real big into rom-coms. I'm not real big into dramas. I like Star Wars. I like Lord of the Rings. I like the big movies just like a lot of people like. But
yeah,
I've seen some really good dramas too. We represent some dramas that are compelling, that suck you in, that make you want to keep watching as opposed to grabbing your remote control and want to zap to something else. We
yeah,
live in a time where there are so many options, and whether it's kids or yourself can grab the remote and you can go to so many other things. So if you can't keep the viewer on your screen, on your content, it's a problem.
yeah. That makes total sense. And when we're talking about names, when you mentioned, the power of the name, we're talking about, just to clarify, we're talking about a household name, where if I say a name to you, you know who that is, you can think of movies they're in, versus me saying a name to you and you go, I don't know who that is. And then I have to tell you three or four things that they're in, and you're like, yeah, I've seen that. He's who again? You know,
That
that
that's
that's not a
exactly
name.
right. That's exactly right. I mean, you and I,
Yeah,
we did a dragon movie with Danny Glover.
yeah,
Everybody remembers Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon. And
yeah,
so that's a name. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we've even produced some films that have some lower level names that maybe everyone doesn't know, but then they also don't perform as well as if you get a bigger name. So
yeah,
it's always a catch-22. But I would say right now, if you can't get something, whether it's a name or something else to carry your film, don't make the movie. Because,
yeah.
well, at least if you care about getting money back to your investors, you can,
Sure.
film producers can do whatever they want. and they will do whatever they want. We are in an industry where it's kind of like going to Vegas. Everybody thinks they're going to hit the jackpot, and films every year at Sundance, one or two or three do hit the jackpot where they cost $1 million, and all of a sudden Apple or Netflix or somebody comes in and pays $25 million for whatever film. It happens every year. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. For every one of those that happens, there's 1,000 or more other films that completely lose all the money that was ever spent in them.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great way to put it. You know, Sundance is a little bit like Vegas. Think about all the people that entered just to premiere there, and then of all those films that premiere there, only a small amount of them actually get distribution deals that help them, you know, cover their negative costs and potentially make profit. So it's it's a pretty uphill battle, you know,
Absolutely.
for sure. Let's talk a little bit about AFM. This is a market, obviously, for a lot of US-based filmmakers can attend. It's a couple $100 to attend for the day. You can walk around, go to these different rooms where there's different distribution and different companies there. You guys will be there, right?
Correct. I'll be there in
Now,
room 717.
there you go. Now, I have noticed from previous years that I've been there, I usually always go because I have a meeting with somebody. So I always have a reason to attend, you know. But what I was going to say is, even then, I still find myself having a little time to wander around. And it's interesting because some of the places you want to go, you'll see some of these companies, you're like, oh, this would be a great company to go with, or a great network or whatever. You can't just walk into their room. You actually have to have an appointment
That's
to
correct.
meet with someone. Yeah.
That's correct. In fact, that's another huge mistake filmmakers make is they
Hmm.
think, well, AFM's taking place, we can just go there and go see anyone we want. So sales agents hate, I'll say it again, hate when filmmakers come in and they try and squeeze themselves in when for us, the whole market is about meeting with buyers. And it's extremely important for us to reserve, especially the first 4 or 5 days of the market for our important buyers. And so a smart filmmaker, even if they're a first-time filmmaker, will make an appointment. And if you want to have a better chance of getting an appointment with us, make it the last day of the market, not the first day.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I was going to say the market's a little quieter towards the end for sure.
Absolutely. So look, this year is different. But the market used to go, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, all the way through the next Tuesday or Wednesday. So the first 4 or 5 days, let's say if it started on Tuesday through Saturday, don't even bug me if you're a filmmaker. But come on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, after, the last 3 days of the market, I'm a lot more apt to give you, 10, 20, 30 minutes of my time listening to your pitch. If you come the first few days, especially without an appointment, honestly, it just pisses me off. I'm just being frank.
Yeah.
And I actually had that conversation with a couple of filmmakers in the elevator a few years ago. Then they're like, well, this is the American film market. What would you do? And I'm like, well, you need to understand we are the sales agent. We're here to sell. We're not here to get pitches. We get pitches throughout the year.
Yeah.
So AFM is not a pitch market. It was never intended to be a pitch market. It was always intended to be a sales market. Now they're trying to sell us. So fine, whatever. But if you want to have the most success, I know several of the companies that are members of IFTA, just like we are, they won't talk to producers at all because they just have no interest in doing it. They do all their own productions. You can't even get in. So if you want to have a better chance of getting in, definitely make an appointment and have the courtesy to make it the last day of the market or the last 2 days of the market when we're not still swamped meeting with important buyers.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And I think almost in a way, if someone's going to be making a film, maybe the intention is to go the year before they make their film, attend some of the workshops and seminars or panels that they have going on because there's industry professionals there talking about things. So maybe make that the focus of your trip. See if you can maybe reach out to some companies, go and introduce yourself maybe towards the end of the festival, the market. And say, listen, I'm going to go make a movie and I'm going to bring it back to you guys. I'm going to share it with you before AFM next year. And then kind of find out what sales agent company you might want to go with. And I feel like that's doing your homework ahead of time versus showing up with just, a pitch deck, and your T-shirt that says your movie on it and saying, "Who wants to buy my movie?" Nothing's worse than coming out with hat in hand, right?
Oh
So,
yeah. Or I mean, it happens every year. I don't know. I can't even count how many producers will come. They've already shot a movie, but they didn't do
hmm
their homework.
yeah,
And I'm sitting there looking at it, and just from the trailer alone, I'm like, dude, why did you waste your money? I can't even get through the trailer. I'm so bored out of my mind.
yeah, yeah,
And so, I mean, if you care about investor, I mean, look, if you don't care about money, you can do whatever you want. You can make whatever movie you want. You can go put it on your YouTube channel or whatever. But if you're trying to make a movie that's commercial, you have to do your homework and make it commercial.
yeah. I recently had a guest on the podcast who mentioned that they had gone to AFM, I think the year previous, and had gone and listened to a panel, and there was some sales agents on the panel,
Mm-hmm.
and they reached out, to these sales agents after the panel, and said, "Hey, I listened to your panel. It was great. We are making a movie currently. This is what it is. We'd love to, have you look at it, see if you think you would be interested in being the sales agent on it." And that worked. That sales agent looked at their material after the market because they weren't finished the movie yet, and saw the potential of it. And then the following year went and sold it. May have even sold it before AFM actually, to an established distribution company, and it was a successful experience for them.
Yeah.
So I think AFM, if you use it as a tool to educate yourself, maybe uh, before you go and make your movie, you might have a better experience in the future. That's just my thought.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and there's another thing. I mean, filmmakers need to do their homework on each company
Yeah,
and talk to the right person. So, for instance, I'm not the right person to get pitches. I don't have the time. My job is to do sales. At my company, Carlos Rincon is the person who they should be contacting. I get emails all the time and I say, hey, I'm not the right person. Please contact Carlos.
yeah.
Just so, I mean, that's important too. Make sure you're talking to the right person.
Now, are sales agents, just out of curiosity, are sales agents just like, I know it's a different job, but if you as an actor or director have an actual agent, say at William Morris or one of these other established agencies, these agents actually are licensed agents. They don't just
Mhm.
decide one day they're going to be an agent and they can just call themselves an agent. They actually have to have a license. Is it the same way with sales agents, or can you just say I'm a sales agent?
No, we can just say we're a sales agent. It's all about building our reputation over years. I
Right,
mean,
right.
honestly, anybody, if they really wanted to, could go and start a company and say, I'm a sales agent. There's not an
Hmm.
accreditation process or anything like that.
Okay,
But
so with the, yeah,
I was going to say, though, this really is a relationship business. I mean, the relationships I've made over 26 years are priceless compared to if I was just starting today. It's not real easy to just start out and start selling films, but people do it.
so as a filmmaker, if I'm going to make an independent film and I need to figure out what sales agent I would like to go with, what am I looking for? What kind of a sales agent would be right for me? Like, do I base it on the genre that I'm trying to sell? Like, how do I find a good sales agent?
You know, in my opinion, the best thing you need to do is also do your homework in another way. If you're looking at a company, find other producers that are working with that company and ask those producers about their experience with that company.
That's a great tip.
Because that way you're not asking me. I mean, I can sit there and tell you whatever I want about the company I work with. And, I believe we're a great company. But if you don't know me from the guy walking down the street, why are you going to believe me over the other 400 companies that are all, vying for your film if it's a good film? If it's not a
Yeah.
good film, you're not going to get very many of us to get interested. But, if it's a good film, we're always competing for them. And so I would just suggest get references. Don't just believe the people you're talking to, us included. Talk to other people who have worked with the company. As a matter of fact, when I left my previous company that you know and came here, I actually called one of the producers that you and I both know. He had a film called Where the Red Fern Grows at this company, Premier Entertainment, and I just asked him, does Premier pay you? He said yes. That's part of the reason I took the job, because it's important to me to make sure I'm working at a company with a good reputation.
So you did your homework. Good for you, Devin.
Yeah.
um, I guess in respect also to trying to find a sales agent or, bringing them something that they also would be interested in being, it's kind of a win-win situation. You're looking for a good sales agent and they're looking for a good product to sell, so everybody can make money. Um, is it less enticing or a problem if someone brings you a movie and says, "Hey, we would love you guys to rep this movie, see what you think," and then only to find out that they've already sold domestic and say Canada, but everything else is open, so a piece of the pie is missing? Is that kind of like a problem, a red flag for you guys, or you're like, well, that's fine. We can carry all the other territories. We'll lease it to those other territories, and it's okay that you've already done domestic. Is that a negative?
Well, that just depends on the genre. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say that is there's several genres that if I don't have North America, I'm not going to be interested at all. I mean, North America, we are a North American sales agent and North American distributor. So that is a huge piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, if there's foreign only and it's just USA and Canada that's sold, if we think it's commercial, we'll still consider it. But like I said, if North America is extremely important to us because of the specific genre that we're talking about and it's gone, we might pass on a film just because of that.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the film and what we're talking about.
Yeah, like for example, I did an independent film that we sold directly to Lifetime because of a direct relationship with them. So
Uh,
what was left for a sales agent was basically foreign markets, and we were able to figure that out. But yeah, I was just kind of curious, if a sales agent really would love to have all of it. I'm assuming they would, they'd love to represent
well,
all of it.
all sales agents would prefer to have all of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
reality is that a lot of films already come to us that part of the rights are sold, and so
yeah.
it really depends on the film. It really depends on what commercial value is left in the film with the rights that remain.
And what is there kind of a standard agreed upon percentage that a sales company will take if they want to rep your film, or is that completely negotiable?
No, it's completely negotiable. I mean, look, our company, we'll negotiate depending on the film as well. And on
Hmm.
some films, we won't take it unless we get more because we know it's going to be harder to sell. And other
Hmm.
films will take less because we know it's going to be easier to sell. So it is completely
Yeah,
negotiable. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with what kind of cast does it have? Because the more cast that it has, it's going to be easier to sell. And so, we can take a lower percentage. But I
yeah,
mean, my CEO, he is the one who would decide on each film that we're going to make an offer, what percentage we would take. But, there's a range, you know, uh, I think the range is anywhere from 10% on up to 25%, maybe even higher, depending on the film.
yeah,
At Koan, we had even a higher percentage on. There was some films that we were doing 50-50 deals and a lot of producers are going to take that and say, holy crap, 50%, that's a lot. But there were a lot of films that we already knew we weren't going to sell more than maybe 100K, but we have to do a whole lot of expense and a whole lot of work to even eke out the 50K. And so that producer has to think, okay, well, do I want 90% of nothing or do I want, 50% of 100K? And that's reality for a lot of films that are out there. I mean, it costs us a lot of money to go to all the markets that we go to. And I hear producers tell me, well, all you do is you make 10 phone calls and you make 10 sales. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. I've got over 3,000 buyers. Now, yeah, I have established buyers that some of them will take a lot of the stuff that we have if it's the right genre. But I can't just call up 10 buyers and make 10 sales on any film. It doesn't work that way. I still have to go to the markets. I have to be relevant. I have to be contacting all the buyers, not just a few buyers to make sales. So it's a lot of work.
yeah. Well, you guys also have a lot of overhead. You have to rent the space at the market. You
Yeah.
have to travel there. You have to find a place to stay and all the additional costs of that. So it's not like it's a freebie for you guys to go to these markets. There's a cost
Oh,
involved.
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's say I go to AFM. Let's say I'm a smart filmmaker. I do my homework. I've got a movie that I think checks the boxes. I think that is, something that's marketable in foreign markets as well as domestic. I go, I meet some sales agents, maybe I buy them a cup of coffee, whatever it is, towards the end of the festival. Because people always like, free food, don't they?
I'm sure they do.
Buy him breakfast at the end of the
Although,
market, you
don't
know?
offer me coffee. It have to be Dr. Pepper.
Okay, fair enough. A big thing of Dr. Pepper gets Devin to come out and meet with you at the end of the market. I find my agent or my sales agent that I'd like to work with. Um, I show them kind of what I have, my concept, my, whatever it is, my basic pitch. But I guess part of it is, when it comes to the trailer, when it comes to the key art, these are things that if you can get a sales agent sort of interested in your concept or your thing beforehand, saying, hey, when it's done, show it to me, they're going to want to have some input on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, we will
Yeah,
cut our own trailer and we will cut our own key art a lot of the times. But the film producer needs to understand in order to get our interest, they've got to do a little bit of the work. You can get key art done pretty cheap. So,
hmm,
in my opinion, make your own, even though we're going to do it again, because you've got to
sure,
sell us. You know, and if you
sure,
can't look, I don't have time to watch 90 minutes of every movie that comes through. That's just
right,
a fact. And again, I'm not, Carlos is the guy that does that, more than me. But if you can't sell me from key art and trailer yourself, even if we're going to change it, there's a problem. So you got to do a little bit of minimal homework to market your film to us, even knowing we're going to change it. We do the same thing. I have buyers in the US. We've already spent thousands of dollars on a trailer and on key art that we use in foreign, and our US buyers, they want to do something else and they do it again. So
hmm,
you can't be lazy or try and cut costs and just not do any trailer and not do any artwork unless if you have a ton of huge names, okay, fine. You can maybe not do that. But if you don't have a ton of cast attached to your film, you need to do something. If you have a ton
yeah,
of cast, most sales agents, the initial artwork is just a bunch of photos of the cast. Say, here it
yeah,
is. We have these people. Here's the title. It's an action film.
yeah,
and that will be what grabs people's initial interest already. But if
yeah,
you don't have that, you got to, we're in a visual industry. You got to sell me visually. I've got to sell my buyers visually. And if your pitch, if you're wanting to sit there and talk for 30 minutes or an hour and all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to sleep because I'm bored out of my wit, you've got to change your pitch. You know,
yeah,
one thing that was really successful about our dragon movie, we used to say, look, this is Moby Dick with dragons. People could understand immediately what we were talking about.
right,
So if you can find a one-line pitch, so you don't have to sit there and explain the story to me in 30 minutes, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just so bored. That's going to help. That's going to help also. With that said, I would advise most filmmakers stay away from psychological thrillers. People try to seem to gravitate toward those because they're easy to do, but they are so boring, and you have to talk for I don't know how long just to explain to me what the heck the story is and this twist and that twist. The problem is most viewers aren't even going to get through 30 minutes of your film to even know what the twist because you haven't got their interest.
right,
So it's the same way about the pitch. Make it fast. Keep up the pacing.
yeah,
Get
yeah,
us
that's
interested
great.
in 3 minutes, not 30 minutes.
And it seems like if you're not going to have a star, like a household actor in your film, if you're going to go low budget, then you're going to need to have something else be the star, whether that's some special effects or action or a monster or whatever it is. It's like, I want to see this movie because of that element of it. And that is kind
Absolutely.
of the driving force behind it.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Now listen,
yeah,
we're selling a film this market. I didn't produce it. It's a horror film based on Winnie the Pooh that became public domain. People are going to go see that movie just because of Winnie the Pooh.
yeah, right. Yeah.
So,
Hey,
and it's a low budget horror film.
yeah, and it's a fresh concept. So people want to see things that are fresh. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited to visit with you at AFM this year. Thank you for those great tips. I think people that are thinking about going to AFM or have already bought their ticket and will be attending, maybe thinking their strategy a little bit different about how they want to approach getting a sales agent so that they can sell their film and hopefully make more films in their career. Before we wrap this up, Devin, where can people find you and Premiere on social media? Like, tell people where they can, find you guys.
Oh, well, the easiest place is our website, www.premierent.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do a ton of social media, but we have,
Yeah.
our girls in the office that do our social media marketing, all that kind of thing. But
Okay.
Sonando, I mean, most people that go to AFM have access to Sonando, but
What is that? I
we're
don't know what that is.
Sonando is an industry database for all the people that attend AFM or can, as far as the sales agents and things like that. And usually, if you go, you can get access to Sonando either by paying a yearly fee or whatever, and that gives you access to all the companies.
Devin, my last question actually is this. As a filmmaker, what's a great resource that a filmmaker can read or listen to that will help them kind of know how the market is changing?
There's a lot out there, but in my opinion, instead of a book or anything like that, I think you need to stay up on the industry through the trades of Screen, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, Variety. I mean, those are really where we get our information. I mean, there's several attorneys in the industry out of LA that have printed books, on how to get distribution, whatever. But I'm not here to sell their stuff, but they're out there, and you can find that kind of information wherever you want. But I kind of find you can't really beat experience, and you can't really beat. I mean, you're talking to me because we've known each other for many years, and what I'm able to do with some films, and the experience that you've had, and so I think as a filmmaker trying to get in the industry, you need to just find referrals because there's lots of companies out there, and maybe not every company might be the right fit for each filmmaker.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Devin, for your time today. It's been great to talk to you. I look forward to visiting with you at AFM and buying you the largest Dr. Pepper that I can find you.
Sounds good.